What's up, Orna fans? Welcome back to another episode of Orna Guides. I'm your host, Chris. Our goal today is going to be a little bit different. If you're new to the channel, my idea is to give you an honest review of Tier 10 from a new player perspective and give you some tips and tricks that I wish I had known as a new player. With that being said, today we're going to jump right in and we're going to take a look at the Beowulf class line. Beowulf is kind of interesting. It allows for a lot of damage output. It's very pet oriented, which I really love, making this one of my favorite classes to go over. It's very tanky. It's very buffy. You can buff up for other classes. It has a lot of really cool utilities. As you can tell, I'm level 233, so I've been at tier 10 for a little bit here. Still working our way up. We're not going to get into Celestials today, but let's dive right on in. As you can see, we started off as a Bahamut. We're going up. The stats are insane jumped from there, especially HP. The point is you can now survive, and we need to focus on our pet a little bit to do more damage. We also gained some more spell slots. We're going to get hammers, polearms, archstaffs, axes, and instruments as our preferred weapons, which should give you an idea of what you're going to be focusing on from the Celestial Towers. The lute is considered a really good weapon for the tamer. We also use the Celestial Axe. As you can see on spells, we're going to get Call of Skadi, Call of Jord. These are awesome. Verse, your nice, lovely damage boost. We have Beast Strikes. Note of Kara and Gate of Erd are very good for defensive positions. Really good if you're going to swap to a summoner because you're going to get extra defenses. Bread and butter is going to be Gate of Gunner, Gate of Snotra. These are going to increase your damage both physically in the form of Gate of Gunner. In Gate of Snotra, we're going to increase our magic damage. Again, we have Verse, but our goal is to get everything else going. Pet-wise, we're still going to go up from there. Follower stats are insane from this one. When you get to Celestial, we're going to get a double attack, which makes this even more potent. Bestial Bonds, we have level 1, 2, and 3. Our pets get our ascension levels. We have a mana siphon. And we have this cool hybrid monster damage down here that's going to increase our hybrid damage. You'll see this later on. This is why it's important to keep our magic and our attack stats normal. Taking a look here, you can see that I kind of focused on a high ward. My goal in this class is to survive. Let my pet do the damage. He is going to do the damage. It's very important that you know that. You can base your pet damage and become a glass cannon of sorts, but it doesn't do you any good if you get one shot. General rule of thumb, early on in the game, I want you to focus on ward, defensive stats, HP. Try to stay alive, sit back, and let this pet work. I promise you, he is going to do damage, and he is going to do insane amounts of damage when they do go off. Foresight is also important. There are some that focus on crit builds for this. That is important for one of the pets coming up, especially the bird. He is going to borrow your crit damage to do more, but we'll talk about that more when we get there. Here we go for the basic of the gears, guys. You're going to focus on Gerd's chest pieces, Gerd's leg wraps, and the head. Looking here, another alternative would be to use the Gilgamesh Axe instead of the Celestial Axe if you don't have it. Go for your ward. Protect yourself. That's your goal. The Gerd gear also gives you plus to pet stats and plus to pet actions, which are always going to be fun. You can see for Amenity, I'm running Refuge and Smoke. The idea is to keep my ward regenerating each turn. As far as adornments, I'm running a lot of plus ward. There is some crit in the chest, and that's more just for my comfort. Every time we crit, we're going to get back some health. We're going to get back some mana. So it's a nice little touch, but it's not our focus. My goal is to stay alive and keep that pet doing as many actions as humanly possible. So your priorities should be more around the ward over HP over pet stats equal to pet actions. All right, guys, we're going to jump in and look at a couple of different accessory slots. I want to focus on the Beowulf charm. This gives your pet an immense amount of stats, but it also decreases their action. Ultimately, running one of these is never a bad idea. Two can be insane depending on what your build is. The Freya's Charm is also nice because you're going to get some pet stats and some follower action. As you get the Celestial Axe, you'll be able to kind of base this around ward versus pet stats versus what you're going to do. Other interesting ones are the Lugos Gauntlets for the extra attack and magic if you need them. Here we're going to jump back over to the gear. As you can see, I'm running the Band of Gods. I'm also running the Vitra's Charm. The idea is just to protect myself. You know, the shield is pretty standard. The Arisen is always a good choice. You can always go into the Griffin Shield. You can use this Rada's Great Shield. All of them are going to work great. When you get the Celestial Axe, this is where you get to play a little bit more. I would recommend running entire ward and ward recovery on it initially, but the Gilgamesh works. All right, guys, let's take a look at the spells as we go here. Ward of Ortonite, Ward of Balor, pretty straightforward. Swordplay is nice because I have extra buffs for my pets. We can also do Worm Song. We can also do Wyvern Speed. As you can see here, I'm running Gate of Snotra. Before I was running Gate of Gunner. Really, the difference is, am I running a melee pet, and am I planning on doing damage, or am I going to sit back and let my pet do all the work? It's really your choice. You get to build around that pet, so it's a nice way to play this game. It's very easy to get caught up in your pets. I'm a big fan of the Spirit Puppy, which we're going to talk about right here, but there are plenty of pets. Looking at this guy, he's going to take a lot of my magic stats, and he is going to turn that into raw damage. He also has greater meditation, so I'm going to get Temporary Magic 3 up, focus on your channels, and just let this guy do damage. Yes, you're going to have to deal with some dots and freezes, but we can always clear that. I have enough ward. My goal is to protect myself. He is going to focus my damage. On average, you're hitting 100K, 200K with this guy. Crits when you have channel up and greater meditation, somewhere around the 1 million mark. So don't hesitate. Let him do some work. You also get some protect chance from him, which is always nice. Dexterity is great. And as you can see, he's got a base crit of about 30%, so he does damage. Let's look at your specializations. Tamer, the obvious one. This is going to up the pet. It's going to make him do more damage. We're going to get more actions out of him. Duh. This is your no-brainer. This is what you should go to. Call of Dumber is really good, especially if you need the pet not to act for a little while. Say you're in a group buffing. That is one way to definitely take care of that. You're also going to get the Beast Slayer, which is good. And again, just taking a look here, if you're not a Valhallan, you're going to get access to the first level of the Bestial Bonds. And of course, the Tamer. May attack more often. Yes, please. Cataphracts is another option. This one's great if you're going for a defensive build and you need Prism, say you're going to run PvP. Or if you're up against a Tower Titan that you're going to need help on. Charmer, always a good one. You can buff up. We have Appease too, especially if we're in a group. Warrior's Pavane, definitely worth the shot. But this is more of your buffing / I need lull on the enemy. Ranger is an option. This is not one I typically recommend. You have the Cactus to do your group damage. However, having access to your own Arrow Storm, never a bad idea, especially since it cannot crit. We are just doing straight damage. So once you're buffed, you're a second Cactus. So this can be an option for somebody who's farming. Looking at pets, some notable ones. The Ashen Phoenix is always a good choice. I haven't noticed the channel being as helpful for me. However, the damage output is pretty good with him. Here's your big boy. This is your group horde finisher. He is going to spray arrows. Call of Scotty, Call of Rand are always good with this guy. He is going to do insane damage for you. Just remember, he cannot crit. Therefore, you're using him for the dexterity bonus to protect yourself and to take less damage while he does your group damage. You just got to stay alive. Cthulhu is a wonderful option. Great PvP, and if you do not have Spirit Puppy, he is going to do some damage. Those Faith Flames are insane crits. You also get the Prism Wall. Octoblast is what you're aiming for. With that being said, you're going to have to cover Greater Meditation and keeping channels up. So again, your job is to stay alive. Let this pet work for you. Next, we're going to jump into the Fey Chimera. This one's obvious. He has Berserk, he does damage. This is going to be more if you're running a melee and I need to do more damage. It works out fairly well. He is very strong. He's going to do some really good damage and keep some dots up. Looking here, we got the Bird of Death. This is more for your crit build. He can do insane amounts of damage, in the millions. He is comparable to Spirit Puppy. Your only thing is you want him to focus on the aerial barrage and the quad cuts, but you have to have a crit build for this. That is what you're going to rely on for the damage. It's easier said than done, but it is a really good, strong build. Next, you've got the Mammon's Acolyte. This one's great for PvP. The Despair and the Necros 3, they miss a ton. But when they do hit, they are going to hit like a truck, and they are going to do so much damage. Again, you're just protecting yourself until it goes off. This is one of my favorites, Glanaslant. He is a wonderful event pet, does a lot of damage with that quad cut, keeps Wyvern's speed up, he can sidestep, he can jump. Again, he's only a tier 9, so he is a great melee option if you do not have the Fey Chimera or the Bird Jet. Looking at the buffing side of this, we can always run Great Yeti. This is a great way to get your ward up, how to get all your buffs going before we start doing endless dungeons. A lot of people will start off as a Beowulf, bring something like this, or the Stuart Golem, or the Fey Chimera, the Fey Yeti, any of those. Your goal is to buff up so that when you do change over to them, you're already buffed. Your pet's got extra action, so he's going to keep buffing you and giving you more ward, which is awesome. Another note one is the Lindworm. This one has Lion's Execution and Lion's Mark. These can do insane amounts of damage to somebody weak against holy damage. Do not underestimate this pet. Fully buffed, he hits for a ton and should be in your raid arsenal. All right, guys, let's take a look. I'm going to jump right into combat. First, we're going to be doing a melee build with the bird. Again, here's our spells. We're going to have everything ready for buffs and ready to go from there. When I told you needed a crit build for this one, let's look over this one. As you can see, he's taking 48% of your critical chance and adding it to his, which is massive. He already has a good base, and he has a static 15% on aerial barrage. So, as you can tell, my build is not optimized to him by any means. My goal is Spirit Puppy, and that's my damage breaker, but I have him if I need him. So, you want to get that crit chance up. If he is in the 60-70 range, you're going to do insane damage with him. Just make sure you're not sacrificing your survivability for that. That's the most important. Jumping into combat, guys, let's watch and see what kind of damage we can throw out here. As you can see, we're going to start with the wards. We're going to get our defensive buffs up. We're going to get mimics going. Then we're going to jump into Worm Song, Worm Speed, Snatcher or Gunner, depending on what you're doing. We'll get our channels up, and then whatever temporary buffs, whether it be Sharpen or Ponder. As you can see, I'm running low health. This is not by accident. I'm doing this on purpose. One of the goals is to try to redline as much as humanly possible, but stay alive. As you can see, I'm using the elixirs. Again, this is by design. It heals by 100, stops the dot damage, but it keeps me at low health if I need it. I also have enough ward that I'm not really worried about it. If I need to pop a heal, we're good to go. But this will increase your pet's damage by 50%, which is just insane. And we're stronger on top of it. So here we're going to do the same thing, guys. I picked a different enemy for this one, but this is Spirit Puppy. Kind of the same idea. You'll notice I'm not taking near the damage on this one, and he is still putting out insane numbers. So still the same plan. All right, guys. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed the video. Thanks for joining us. I look forward to seeing you next time. Good luck.